Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and today I wanted to talk about the fact that as much as we've talked about this bear market over the last few months, guess what? Digital Asset has a 186% year-on-year return. Yes, that's right, XRP. This article is from BitcoinNews.com. CoinGecko report 4 of top 5 coins post year-on-year returns, and says Ripple did better than both coins, however, increasing in value 186%. I think that's something that you should sit back and celebrate, because after all we've been through, to think that we've got an 186% gain is pretty amazing. Don't think you're going to be getting that in the stock market. Next, I wanted to go over this. This was on Yahoo Finance, and this is from the Web Summit. And the title of this video is "Here's What Crypto Will Look Like in 2019." And I wanted to explain to you who these people are. One of the guy in the middle is Tim Draper, the founder of Draper Associates. The guy on the right is Peter Smith, co-founder and CEO of Blockchain. And then on the left, you've got Gary Tan of Initialized Capital. And these guys are just basically, it's about 19 minutes, and it's about the state of the crypto market. And what I got out of this video, the first thing that you must understand is that they were just talking, they were using, as often is done in articles and in videos, when they say Bitcoin, they're talking really in terms of, when I hear Bitcoin, I'm hearing the overall crypto market in terms of top 10, 15 coins that are legitimate projects, XRP being the greatest digital asset of all time. What they should do, and probably in the future what they will be doing, is instead of saying Bitcoin, they'll just say XRP, and then that will mean also Bitcoin. But for the time being, just like in the market, how a lot of things are still tied to Bitcoin, move up and down with it, XRP will surpass Bitcoin, as I said in my last video, I believe. Okay, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about what these guys, some of the topics that came up, and I'm not going to do this in any particular order. The first thing is this guy, Peter Smith, had predicted about $1 trillion in the market by the end of 2018, and I think that that's a pretty good number. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And I know, looking at the market today, 220 billion, that doesn't seem possible. But just look back at what happened in December of last year to see what is possible in the crypto market. And when you look back at December of last year and you think, oh, from 220 billion to $1 trillion, what you really need to think about is how many more on-ramps into crypto have been created since that time, and how many of these companies like Coinbase and some of the big ones have ramped up their personnel and added on people to be able to handle more volume because they know it's coming. And the answer to that is a lot. So even though he was kind of, she called him out and asked him about his $1 trillion prediction. He was a little nervous about, trying to say that now, but the truth is he's probably a lot more right than he realizes. And I think there's a good chance between now and the end of December that we could find out just how right he was. Moving along, and I'm just going to kind of summarize what each of these guys said, and I'll try to tie it in with what the other guys said if they said something in line with it. First, this Peter Smith, he said after that $1 trillion in 2018, he mentioned that he stressed a lot of growth ahead for the crypto markets. And then they got on the topic of whether some of these firms, like a Goldman Sachs type firm, could buy some of the larger crypto firms, if they might just buy these crypto firms. And he made a statement that I thought was pretty profound. He said, by the time the traditional firms realize they need to go into crypto, they won't be able to afford to buy them. And I thought that was pretty amazing to hear someone put it that way. And then Tim Draper chimed in, and they were talking about Goldman Sachs. And he said Goldman Sachs better start buying Bitcoin, because nobody's going to want their fiat currency to be bought. He said nobody that owns a crypto platform will want to sell for fiat to Goldman. And it's important that when you hear these things to understand what these guys are talking about is they are literally saying, look, exactly what we've been talking about here. The governments of the world have completely destroyed, they haven't just destroyed the currencies of the world, but they've destroyed our faith. And that word faith and trust is key. That's everything when it comes to your money. If you don't trust who's issuing it or what it is, if you don't trust it, it's worth nothing to you. And that's what they're talking about here. This Peter Smith also said, he said, listen, inflation is very controlled by the governments of the world. And he said, so many people don't realize that they are getting poorer every day in their fiat currencies. And that is such a true statement. There will be a day, and it's probably somewhere in the next 1 to 5 years. This is the digital asset investor speaking. There's going to be a day in conjunction with the explanation to the average person in the world about what cryptocurrencies are versus what fiat is. And there will be as we've heard the term light switch moment, but there will be a light switch moment in the heads of many average people across the world. That switch may not go off until there's an emergency triggered that makes them realize that their fiat is not worth anything. But there will be that light switch come on. And when it does, that's my prediction and has been all along, you will see more money flow into crypto than you could have even imagined at that point. So moving along, and they couldn't nail down this Peter Smith guy on a 2019 Bitcoin prediction, but he said it will be higher. Then when we get to Tim Draper, he's a lot more bold, and he said he was saying that in the short run there's manipulation that goes on, but he said in the 4-year run, he said I know exactly what's coming, and he was making the point that he said I talked to all of the movers and shakers and the people who are building ecosystems around crypto, and he said in the next 4 years there's no question by 2022 Bitcoin will be at $250,000. Now just imagine that for yourself. Look at the coinmarketcap.com and look at where Bitcoin is right now, roughly 6,400. Now imagine if Bitcoin goes to $250,000, what that means for your XRP. We're talking cuckoo crazy money. And this guy is a billionaire, and there's not a doubt in his mind that by 2022 we're talking $250,000 Bitcoin, and he tells you that the reason he has no doubt is because he's on the ground talking to all of the people that are in this and are making all of this happen. A couple other interesting things he said. One is that he said that Coinbase will be $1 trillion business, and then I also mentioned to you also he went back also to what the other guy was talking about. He said, look, these central banks are the fiat that they have created is all political money. Politicians can cause them to print or not print or whenever they want to. He said central banks print money whenever they want, and that money is tied to political forces. And he said this is a no-brainer that Bitcoin and crypto will be the go-to place for the general public. It's just a matter of time. And they all, I think, pretty much agreed that the powers that be are starting to realize this as well. Finally, this guy here, his name was Gary Tan, Initialized Capital. He did not say as much, but at the very end, he agreed with Tim Draper that $250,000 Bitcoin in 2022 was very doable. Now that's pretty profound. I mean, think about that. Just think about the percentage returns we're talking about. And I believe XRP will be even more than that in terms of percentage returns by far. And if you just look at it and the actual usefulness, and one of the things Tim Draper was saying, that he said that what he's really looking forward to is when you can actually buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. Well, as I believe I've heard Brad Garlinghouse say before, by the time the Bitcoin transaction goes through, that cup of coffee is cold. Well, in comes XRP. And this is what's so great. We don't need Litecoin networks or whatever they call it, the Lightning Network. We don't need Lightning networks because XRP already, it's its own Lightning Network. And so they're sitting around waiting to have some outside forces perfect Bitcoin. XRP is perfect. XRP is the greatest digital asset ever created, and they know it. And guess what? You and I are going to reap the benefits. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that XRP doesn't need the Lightning Network. Thanks for listening.